Hey everybody, Goosebumps for Dummies here, back at again with another video, and today I'm going to be reviewing Welcome to HorrorLand, the survival guide. Now, this isn't a normal Goosebumps book, straight off the bat. This was released straight after Panic Park, maybe not straight after, but it was after, and then soon after this came the beginning of Arc 2 with When the Ghost Dog Howls, which we reviewed already. This is basically the midway point of HorrorLand, and I count it as the 12.5 book. It's like Lion King 1.5 type shit. More as a bonus book, but either way, I count this in a way that it makes HorrorLand 20 books for me. A 20 book series, excluding the Write Your Fright and other things, I believe. It's a book that exists, and I think it is worth reviewing, and it does barely count in my can't say that second word, Goosebumps ranking. Yes, seriously, this counts. There is no story, there's kind of a character, which we'll get to later. There's no plot or anything, it is just a literal guide to Horrorland. It's like a literal guide you'd find at Horrorland to tell you things about the park, who to talk to, where to go, what you can do, what you can't do, and type of shit like that, as well as notes from a character, so I guess there is that. It is very different, but I count it because it is not too far off from being a true Goosebumps story, because it has those elements that you'd see in a Horrorland book, as well as, jokes, but also some horror, as well as it's not leaning too much into the idea that it's not a Goosebumps book. And, well, it is literally it looks like one. It looks like one. Yeah, I believe this barely counts as a Goosebumps book. Not a story, but a book. So yeah, it does count my Goosebumps ranking. And that's why we're reviewing it today, even though I will be reviewing books that don't go in my ranking at some point. This one's going in there, just letting y'all know. So let's review this thing. And now for the blurb. The amusing park where nightmares come to life. Don't worry, there's nothing to be frightened of, as long as you have this guide and full behind-the-scenes info. Take a peek inside at the Staggering Doom Service menu, where with petting zoo rules and regulations, rating for the scariest rides in Horrorland, tips on how to avoid Egyptian curses, and monster jobbification and fright restrictions. Plus, all new tips for the Horrorland video game and many more frightening facts. And, yeah. Yeah, this literally just states that this is a real and true survival guide to the Horrorland series, or ever the theme park. If you ever stumble on there, this is your guide. And let me say, this is a fun and very interesting read. It is super different. This isn't a Goosebumps book. Look at the inside of this. This is a literal Goosebumps book length. Literally, it's 140, I think, pages, maybe 30. This is a Goosebumps book length guide to Horrorland. And it's pretty long. It's a pretty long guide, but it is a damn fun and interesting read. And also I can see why people not like it. I'm into the Horrorland humor. It's nice, it's fun, it's a little campy and silly. Sometimes it can be a little too much, but honestly here, it's really well done. And I think if you are into that, if you're into the Horrorland humor, you're going to have a lot of fun with this. And even besides that, there is something to be offered here, which is the Lizzie notes, which we'll get to very soon, when we get to my upsides. And honestly, there's not a lot to hate here, honestly. Almost nothing about this book was bad. And this is one of those books I really say is borderline perfect. Because I don't give that score for a lot of books, but like, this one, there's nothing to hate here. It's a guide. And technically, if it's in my ranking, it can be considered a perfect Goosebumps book if it gets a literal 10 out of 10. No, jumps. But yeah, let's start glazing the shit out of it now. This is seriously one of the most entertaining reads in all of Goosebumps history. Same thing goes for the autobiographies. It is really informative about Horrorland, right? The topic of the book, Horrorland, is very informative on that, alright? It does shed some light on a lot of, unexplored locations. Kind of gives you more detail about them, as well as just doing it in a very fun manner. There's jokes, there's funny ideas, there's funny names, there's also really neat little, actual notes in the book from Lizzie Morris. This book is generally just really entertaining and as well as informative. That is the biggest compliment I can give it, and I can't really stress it enough. That is the fucking biggest kicker. Like, that is absolutely why I love this. The information you get from here, though, not crucial or anything. You don't need to read this to learn about HorrorLand. You can just look it on the wiki, or you just don't have to. It's not important. It is fun. It's nice details and notes. Nothing crazy, of course, but it's nice. It's nice info dump book that does it in a great manner, which is really fun. And like I said, with some nice jokes and just some generally good humor. And yes, this definitely delves into Stine's more humorous side, mixing it with not scary stuff, but, slightly scary stuff for the younger audience reading this book. That's about it. That really makes up most of its score, besides the notes from Lizzie Morris, which are really cool and neat here, especially when you know what some of them mean, and some of the locations, what happens at them, and of course, just some general info about rides and the meters. I really like the meters. I believe there's a meter in this book for each character or villain in Arc 1, which was, yes, that was really cool. That was a really cool part, my favorite part in this book, which is at the end, so that's something to look forward to. That's the best part of this book. There's some really, really good meat in there. It's really informative and entertaining, and there's some really good stuff in here that's really fun to read, and there's some nice side notes from Lizzie Morris. This book is a really fun read, and I highly recommend it, and I don't know if I have any issues. There's nothing really wrong with this book, I can say. I don't think it need to be long as it is, though. I think that would be my only thing that I truly mean, besides maybe the humor, like I said, being a little too much. I know it's going to be more of a for you guys thing, probably. Because I know some people probably will absolutely hate it. I know people are going to hate this thing. But it was just for me. But like I said, page count maybe didn't have to be that long. It was a bit of a longer book, especially since some pages have... Well, it's not... doesn't look like it. There's a lot of words in some of these, so it is slightly longer in some cases, but either way, I think it rounds out to about slightly less long than your average Goosebumps HorrorLand book, at least. Maybe longer, I'm not sure, but either way, it very much varies. So yeah, let's move on to my rating. I give this book a 10 out of 10. A light 10 out of 10. It is one of my lowest, probably my absolute lowest 10 out of 10, just to be fair. Because I feel like putting it above stories that are in the 10 out of 10 area, I think is unfair. Especially shit like Evil Twin, because that is the actual closest story-wise book to being perfect. If you go watch my review on that, I glazed the ever-loving fuck out of that book. It is literally perfect. This is more perfect, but in a very different sense, so I feel like it's not better than a lot of other books that I give. The rounded, of course, 10 out of 10, which means it's like maybe a 9.6, but I rounded it just for emphasis to guarantee a good read. And because it just makes things simpler on my end. Rounded? Maybe not. This might be an actual 10 out of 10, but in my system, this is a very low 10 out of 10. I highly recommend checking this out if you have read the HorrorLand series, or at least a good amount of books, or if you're in the middle of Arc 1. Maybe check this out. Might give you some hints towards who's coming up, even though I just kind of spoiled who made the notes in this book. But you probably guessed by the LM initials. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this book review, and tell me what you think of the HorrorLand Survival Guide below, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.